All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something huge, a technology that's aiming to put the entire world of physical assets on the blockchain. We're talking skyscrapers, fine art, you name it. This is way bigger than just crypto. It's about totally rethinking what it means to own something. So let's get right into it. So, I want to start with this question for you. Just imagine a world where the most valuable, most exclusive assets are suddenly as easy to buy and sell as a stock or, a crypto token. Now, this isn't some far-off sci-fi dream. It's the whole idea behind a movement called real-world asset tokenization, or for short, RWAs. So just how big is this opportunity, really? Well, the estimated value of all real-world assets is absolutely staggering. We're talking about a quadrillion dollars. That's 1,000 trillion. I mean, it's a number so big, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around it. And just to put that number into perspective, the entire crypto market, which we all know is massive, is worth around $3 trillion. That means the whole crypto space is just a tiny drop in the ocean compared to the potential of RWAs. And that massive gap is the opportunity that everyone is now chasing. But here's the thing you have to understand. Despite that enormous potential, the reality is, this whole space is just getting started. And for a lot of people, that's where the real excitement is. Right now, only about $24 billion worth of all those assets have actually made it onto the blockchain. And as Plume CEO Chris Yen points out, yeah, it's grown a lot recently, but we are still incredibly early. This means there's a huge runway for growth and a massive opportunity for the first movers to really define what this future looks like. And that brings us right to the focus of today's explainer. Plume Network. They're one of the key projects building the fundamental infrastructure for this new financial world. So let's take a look at what they're all about. So Plume is what's called a Layer 1 blockchain. That's the foundational layer, kind of like Ethereum or Solana. But its design is hyper-specific. It is built from the ground up just for RWAs. And this part is crucial. It's not just for big banks and institutions. It's designed for you, the on-chain crypto-native user. And that's a really key distinction. And their early success kind of speaks for itself. They've already become the #1 chain for RWA holders, with a community of over 173,000 people. This is all backed by a massive ecosystem, a $5 billion pipeline of assets just waiting to come on chain, and a team with serious credibility, with folks from giants like Coinbase, Binance, and Robinhood. Okay, so how do they actually pull this off? Well, Plume's core mission is to take the incredibly complex, messy, off-chain world of legal stuff and finance and make it as simple as just a few clicks on a screen. To make this super concrete, let's look at a really fascinating real-world example they're working with: tokenizing the royalty streams from a whole portfolio of oil wells. This is where it gets really interesting. So the process, when you break it down, looks like this. First up, a fund owns the royalty rights to over 200 active oil wells. Next, shares of that fund get moved into a separate legal entity called a special purpose vehicle, or an SPV. You can just think of it as a secure digital vault that legally walls off the assets. This makes them bankruptcy remote, which is just a fancy way of saying your investment is protected even if the original company runs into trouble. Third, crypto tokens are created that represent direct ownership of those shares. And finally, as the oil wells produce and the royalties get paid, the profits flow right to that SPV and are automatically distributed to everyone holding the tokens. And here is the huge shift. Traditionally, if you wanted to make an investment like this, you'd be looking at mountains of paperwork, strict income requirements, weeks of just waiting around, all for an asset that you can't even sell easily. Plume's goal is to turn all of that into a simple 2-click process, with no minimums, instant settlement, and a liquid token you can trade anytime you want. It's a really powerful idea, right? And it's already gaining some serious traction. So let's take a look at who is actually backing this vision and fueling all the momentum. The names involved here are pretty wild. It's a mix of the biggest players in traditional finance and in crypto. You have titans like BlackRock showing interest in the space, and right alongside them, you have crypto infrastructure leaders like Layer 0 and major RWA protocols like Centrifuge and Superstate. Having this kind of strong backing from both worlds, that's a huge vote of confidence. Now, if you look at the competitive landscape, it gives you a sense of the potential growth here. You can see its competitors are valued much, much higher, but Plume's specific focus on being the core infrastructure for all RWAs puts it in a really unique position. If this whole sector keeps growing and they execute on their vision, this valuation gap suggests there's a lot of room to run. So how did they become number one in RWA holders so quickly? Well, a key part of their strategy is this massive points campaign that will lead to an airdrop, which is basically a future distribution of their token as a reward. So users connect their wallets, they complete different tasks, and they earn points. It creates this powerful incentive that has just fueled this incredibly rapid adoption. But look, it's not all smooth sailing. Building the financial plumbing for a quadrillion-dollar market comes with some major challenges. So let's look at the hurdles that the entire RWA industry really needs to get over. There are really three big ones. First, you've got regulatory uncertainty. That makes the big players hesitate. Second, security is completely non-negotiable. You can't have billions of dollars in real assets that are vulnerable to a simple hack. And finally, there's user education. Just convincing the world that owning a digital token is the same as owning a piece of a real-world company. I absolutely love this quote from Plume's CEO. He completely reframes the whole regulatory debate. His point is, if you build a product that people genuinely love and find useful, think about Uber, the regulations will eventually catch up and adapt. The real challenge is building something so compelling that it just can't be ignored. And to tackle that security issue head-on, Plume is building compliance controls directly into its core infrastructure. This gives them the ability to offer some recourse if there's a hack. It's actually pretty similar to how a stablecoin can be frozen. It's a crucial safety net that's designed to build trust with both big institutions and everyday users like you and me. And all of this brings us back to the grand vision. It's about so much more than just technology. It's about democratizing finance. The goal here is to break down the walls of the traditional financial system and allow anyone, anywhere in the world, to get access to high-quality, yield-bearing assets with the same ease we experience in crypto today. So we end right where we began, but hopefully with a lot more context. Given the incredible potential for efficiency, for speed, for accessibility, is it inevitable? Will every single asset one day live on a blockchain? Well, that is the quadrillion-dollar question that projects like Plume are trying to answer. Thanks so much for joining this explainer.